Gamers, it's finally happened. ArenaNet has saved PvP and World vs. World. This is it. 2024 and 2025 is the year of Guild Wars 2 PvP and World vs. World. Well, you know, obviously we're messing around here a little bit, but actually we have some really cool changes actually to PvP and World vs. World, kind of aimed at retaining players and also giving some newer players some aspirational goals. And on the World vs. World front, we have some brand new skins, and this is cool actually, setting the groundwork for, I think, making World vs. World into a more competitive infrastructure, adding some systems to kind of balance the game around attacking and defending and how, like, victory points work, winning skirmishes, winning matches, all this kind of good stuff. I think we're really setting the groundwork here for taking World Restructuring to the next level and actually making these matchups matter, making capturing and holding objectives actually important for reward purposes, for prestige purposes, but obviously we'll get to that when we get to that. But some really exciting changes actually, I think, kind of across the board for World vs. World. But let's do PvP first. Oh yes, there is a purple title, so let's stay tuned for that one. But anyway, so the first set of changes are all about tournaments. So basically, they've got rid of half of the daily ATs. Look, I'll read between the lines here. They got rid of the ones that basically nobody played in the middle of the night and were just there to be basically farmed, right? And were just like free gold, like Multibox would farm them. Like, you just have like a bunch of people who sign up, farm the ATs, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, probably not a super healthy engagement with that system. So that's what's basically happened here. And now they just happen on kind of vaguely prime time on EU and NA. They actually shifted the times a little bit as well, so that they kind of better align with like play time on these servers. So that's, in my opinion, a pretty good change. But now let's get to the actual really exciting stuff. This is where the fun begins. Weekly automated tournament every Sunday as well. So this is kind of like on top of all the other stuff, on top of the monthlies, and they are big gold. 150 gold if you win. And, you know, obviously not everyone's going to win, so, you know, fair enough. But check this out. 25 gold for 9 to 16th place. And that's in addition to all the match rewards you get, like the reward tracks, and, of course, like the win score. Like, you get some gold for winning. Kind of playing these matches there as well. Very rewarding stuff here as well. And you even get Ascended Shards of Glory, so that's like you can get gear out of that and all the other rewards. And the PvP League tickets, again, that kind of funnels into the Legendary system too. All this really good stuff is kind of going into that as well. You can just enter these normally as well. It's not like the monthly. You don't need to qualify for them or anything like that. And this is every single Sunday, new weekly AT. I think this is a really good change. Like, right now, you only have the monthly to practice as a team. Like, daily ATs, people don't take them super seriously, right? So it can be a little bit hard to get that practice. Ranked, obviously, is not the same. Playing as a duo queue is not the same as playing in a 5. So, you know, you have to go out and meet other teams and kind of do scrims and kind of internal in-house matches. That's fine, obviously. But this, I think, is so important. This is really going to give new aspiring teams that are working their way up the rankings in the monthly, an opportunity to have an event. They can set that, play every single week, get better and better and better, work towards winning this, you know, and then improve their gameplay as a team. I think this is a really, really good thing, because this is going to be more winnable too. It's not going to be as sweaty as the monthly. It's this really cool middle ground, I think, between the daily and the monthly, where teams are going to have this goal to aspire towards. Like, if you're a newer player, like you're just getting, you know, just starting to get into it, like you're starting to pug some ATs, just trying to get a team together, playing with your friends and stuff. I think this weekly is a really cool thing that you'll be able to actually go after as well. Just having more tournaments, I think, is really exciting as well, right? Like, having more exciting events, you know, in the PvP kind of the PvP calendar is a great thing here as well. And I think this will actually help teams sticking together and improving significantly, which is definitely a big problem. Like, with just the monthly, players don't stick with their teams, right? They typically just like pug every month, and there's a couple of teams that kind of are always there popping up in the top 4, but you don't have that consistent new team coming into the mix. And I think that's what these weeklies can be really useful there as well. And we've got another monthly as well. Check this out. And this is kind of a, you know, an extra major event every single month for PvP, and it's going to be on Saturday again, just like the monthly. Every second Saturday. The monthly is every 4th Saturday, so it's going to be 2 weeks apart. And now you've got 2v2 and 3v3 alternating every month. And they're bringing back special titles. Duo of Destiny is coming back. I believe Triumphant Triad for the 3v3 as well, keeping the alliteration going there. Love to see that. And yeah, this is also really, really cool. Not only a bit of variety, but also another major event. And again, it's going to be like the monthly, so a lot of gold for this. So probably 500, I want to say. You also get the permanent PvP VIP access for winning that as well, too. And yeah, just another avenue for players to compete. If you have, a friend, you can play the 2v2. If you have a couple of friends, but not a full team yet, you can play the 3v3. And it's just a bit of variety as well. I'd love to see them actually kind of mix this up here a little bit. And, I'm just going to say it. Do a Stronghold one, That's going to be fun. Just throw that in there. They could even do a deathmatch one, like a full 5v5. They did that a couple of times with 4v4, I think. It still uses the same maps, right? It uses, I think it uses, the Azura Arena one, the bigger one. Otherwise, it turns into a complete fiesta. But I think this gives them an opportunity to kind of add a bit of flavor here. They can do some crazy stuff, like really mix it up and just have this kind of extra, slightly more for fun event there with some really good rewards attached to it as well. Every second Saturday. So yeah, that's another really, really good change in my opinion. And of course, when they have this new game mode, they can throw it in too. The new game mode was not talked about here, by the way, on this stream. That's going to be coming later. But again, this could immediately funnel that in. You could have this monthly variety tournament, also have that brand new game mode that players who are also trying that out will be able to try in this competitive format there as well. Super cool. Again, another great change. These changes are really good, by the way, overall. They're really, really good for PvP. It's such a shame these are so late. I do have to bring it up or I'm going to get memed on by the comments. This is 5 years too late. So it probably isn't going to be as impactful as it would have been if it had been back then, because I think the real issue that does need to address is kind of how ranked plays out, and that's where the new game mode comes in, like trying to get new players to get involved and stick. That's going to be important. I think this can help retention, which should improve the quality or at least prevent it from getting worse, right? Because if there's these exciting events for players to kind of want to improve for, want to practice for, to get better rewards and get that prestige, then that will help retention. But I do think that, this is not going to save PvP. I was obviously being very silly and hyperbolic at the start of this video, but these are some fantastic changes. And the important thing here to talk about here, actually, and I really should have actually said this, is ArenaNet is actually, they're actually doing changes to PvP, right? Are these changes perfect? No. Is it going to fix everything? Obviously, no, as well. But this is the important thing. Bear in mind, guys, ArenaNet abandoned PvP for years, for the best part of a decade at this point, right? The fact that the fact that they're even doing anything, I think, is actually very notable, especially when these changes are quite expansive and are really, really cool, especially for existing players who are really passionate about PvP, giving some of these goals there as well. And it's only going to get better from here as well. So I think we have to actually say that this is super exciting to see that ArenaNet is actually investing in PvP and they want to make it better. That in and of itself is really cool. And the changes being rather solid is a big help to that as well. And icing on the cake in terms of tournaments, we've got the Tournament of Legends coming back. And for those who don't know, it's been a while since the last one. It's basically, if you win this, you win a legendary. So big goal. It's kind of like an Uber monthly. Funnily enough, I think people actually value the monthly more because of the special reward, the unique reward of the gizmo, and of course the best of the best title. It might be interesting to see if they actually added a title for winning this as well. Could be pretty interesting. It's scheduled to run every 6 months. So again, it's like an Uber monthly, basically. Announcement of the first one coming soon, TM. So we'll see. It would be cool if it was after the expansion, actually. That would be kind of nice. It'll be super cool, actually. And it's the third Saturday, so in between. That's going to be a big month. That is going to be a big PvP month. You're going to have the 2v2 or 3v3, then directly into Tournament Legends. Then the next month, then the next day, week after that, you have the monthly. So, oh yeah, that's going to be a big PvP month. All right, actually, every single week, you're going to have something really exciting, which I think is pretty cool. And then the rewards have been updated because, yeah, the second place prize was a precursor, which back when precursors were 500 gold, that was pretty good, but they're more like 30 now. So, yeah, a little bit, yeah, not quite as good. So that's good to know there as well. But again, it's really good to have that back. And the fact that it's automated is going to be great. That's baked in. That's something, mark it in your calendar. It is going to be there, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Great change. Having something even above the monthly, I think is really exciting. And again, I think they could go even harder on these roads, really make some special stuff. Even give it a unique gizmo, right? Will be super cool. A gizmo that you can only win twice a year. That would be absolutely insanely hype. They could just make it the same one every time. Have a little, I don't know, have a mini Zomoros over your head or something like that. Would be super cool. I think, to just juice it up even further. Because again, it is weird that in some sense that the monthly has kind of more swag attached to it than this Tournament of Legends, which is every 6 months. And we're not done yet. Boom! New colored title for tournament play. Let's check it out. So Champion Brawler is already colored. That is going to be applied retroactively, so that's going into the game. You get a nice, I think, kind of pinkish, purpley style color. Very cool. And check this out. A new system has been created to reward players with a colored title for high placement in monthly automated tournaments. So, first through fourth, get Proofs of Glory. First, you get 30. Second, 15. Third and fourth, you get 10. At 120, you unlock a brand new title, the Champion of Champions, which is basically for playing monthlies over and over again. And I do really like this as well. One thing that I think has been very problematic, actually, especially for like long-term PvP players, is that the monthly can feel very demotivating because if you don't win, you essentially get nothing. If you're a competitive player, you don't care about gold. You know, you want a trophy, you want some prestige, right? And you get nothing essentially unless you win the monthly. The title is for first place, the gizmo is for first place. That is what players want to go after. And making first through fourth to be very meaningful with this kind of special title, I think is actually a great change. It's going to motivate teams, I think, to have a slightly more realistic aspirational goal. Like, oh yeah, if you're a new team, winning the monthly can seem almost impossible, and it certainly is very difficult, especially on the NA server, I think, actually. But now that you can actually get some really cool stuff by kind of grinding out third or fourth, I think that's actually a much more approachable goal for teams that are just starting to kind of get into it and start their kind of grind to the top in terms of points, which I think will be really motivating for these players to go for. I think it would be interesting to actually extend this out through the top 8, actually, because third and fourth, that's still pretty damn difficult, right? Like, you're going to have to... That's going to be a bit of a grind to get to that level consistently to be progressing this, and it will take you a year of getting third to fourth, by the way. So it's a long-term goal. It's kind of like a fractal god style thing. It's like going to be a long-term grind to go for that. That's what it's supposed to be. It's like a long-term grind. Even if you win every time, it's still a 4-monther to actually get this. So it is that, you know, aspirational long-term setup for players to be going for here. And I think there's loads more. I want to see more of this stuff, right? I would love to see best of the best be given to the top 4 in the monthly. And this kind of replaces that, so I don't think they do this anymore. They've kind of gone this direction. But yeah, they could make best of the best a colored title too. I think that makes a lot of sense at this point. Make that one super special as well, because of course it absolutely is, right? You know, they could have done top 4 and then, you know, first is gold, second is silver, third, fourth is bronze. Looks like they want to have the titles color-coded, so I don't think that's actually likely to happen. Like I think all the PvE ones are going to be purple. All of the World vs. World ones are kind of going to be this orange style color. And it looks like the PvP ones are going to be the kind of this pinky color as well. So it looks like that's the way they're going with how they're handling these titles, I think. So yeah, I don't think you're going to get that, but yeah, whatever. Again, really good change, in my opinion. Actually, like, this is a very special thing. You're really going to stand out when you're the champion of champions, the cock, as it were. Yeah, really good. Really, really good, actually. These are, I think, going to definitely improve things in terms of retention for players who want to compete, and hopefully provide some motivation, right? Like, trying to win these weeklies, trying to work up towards getting into the top 4, much more approachable, I think, from kind of an aspiring competitive player. Because, like, one thing that really is problematic, again, like I said, in competitive PvP, is that players go, man, it's going to be such a long time until we've got a chance of winning anything, until we've got a chance of actually getting something really cool for all of our efforts. If you're a brand new team, it's going to take you months and months and months of practicing before you're even remotely in contention to have a chance at winning the monthly, right? But this is going to make it much more approachable, in my opinion. Yeah, more work to be done, but I think a very solid start when it comes to PvP. And look at this, Djinn's Dominion is also getting updated. Look, check this out. First of all, they actually fixed the bug where if you jump on mid, it doesn't cap. I think it took like 5 years for them to fix that, but you know what? I respect it. We got there in the end. And the big thing is they fully reworked the objective. The objective in this one is very scuffed. You have to go into the lamp to capture it, which, I'm not gonna lie, people didn't do that. You only went in there to basically run away from people and kind of kite around a little bit. That was the only reason you did it. But look at these skills. So for a start, it's now like Temple of the Silent Storm. You just have to channel it and capture it. That immediately makes it way more viable to go for. Very similar to, again, Temple or, of course, Colosseum. on picking this up, and these spells are pretty juicy here as well. So only you get it. It's you know, and you have only the person channeling it will get it. Again, like kind of the Colosseum buff, kind of. Except I guess the Colosseum buffs affects the entire team, but only one person gets like the super special effect, right? But yeah, kind of like that. Whatever, you get the idea. Only the person channeling who gets it, and you get the Meteor, the Waters of Life, and Starfall. So the Meteor is now a single target Giga Nuke that will CC, remove boons, it's unblockable, and applies vulnerability to the target. So again, you can just mark someone for death basically that everyone can go for. The Waters of Life, you have a targeted AoE that revives allies and finishes enemies in its race. So it's basically like a war banner basically that you can drop down. That is very strong, by the way. That is a really good effect to have that, that's for sure. And then finally you have Starfall. This one's also really exciting. It's basically like a mobile Skyhammer. You damage and launch enemies in a radius around the player. What is this? In a radius? Yeah, oh dear. Okay, I think Trig wrote this, so we can flame him for doing this. Or maybe it was Roy, I don't know. But either way, okay? What the hell is this? In a radius around the player. If used while at a capture point the enemy controls, it will neutralize the capture point. Yeah, Wing 8 leaks here, guys. Wing 8, radius. It will neutralize the capture point. So it's very much like the Skyhammer in that regard. So you can kind of just, you know, go onto a node, immediately decapture it. And again, that's a pretty impactful thing to have, right? If there's like a fight raging on or maybe a 1v1 type of scenario, you can immediately decapture that and again, like start to work on that for your team and kind of swing the map a little bit in that regard. So I think all these are actually much more powerful, much more usable effects than previous. And yeah, I think this is a pretty solid objective rework here. I would imagine players are definitely going to want to go for these because these are really powerful. So I think you're going to see some real contention here, especially I kind of see it playing out a little bit like how Colosseum does. It's going to be... There's a reason why that map is amazing for Thief, right? Because being able to contest those objectives quickly and efficiently is pretty much vital to actually playing that map out. And Thief is really good at doing that. And I kind of see it being the same here. You're going to have like mobile classes, again, kind of like your fast duelist things playing on the sides after winning a fight, like going and grab this. Same with the Thief, boom, gets in there, grabs it, gets out, blasts someone with the Meteor, gets the instant stomp, right? All that kind of stuff. That's how this kind of plays out. And I think you're definitely going to see this objective be contested and players going for it. Of course, you have to be a little bit careful not to overcommit, but I mean, look, that's PvP, right? All that kind of stuff. And the final change here is that leaving the lamp arena with applied teleport will apply teleport sickness with applied teleport sickness. Will apply teleport sickness with a scaling duration like Skyhammer. So basically, you can't just go in, out, in, out, in, out to kite, essentially. So it's very similar to the Skyhammer. It will still be a powerful kiting tool. It will. Like, you will still want to... you'll still want to go in there to escape from people, and then you can wriggle away and do some stuff there. But it won't be quite as extreme as like the situation is right now with how the lamp operates. So I think a good change there. But yeah, to sum it up for PvP, I think some really exciting stuff here. The fact that this amount of effort has gone into it and some really solid changes, I can't wait to see them iterate on this. And I can't wait to see what they're going to come up with a new game mode in the future of PvP in general. You know, they've been working on the balance a fair bit. Maybe some work needed there as well. I think, you know, so pretty questionable builds in PvP right now. But you know what? You know, every meta is the best meta, guys. Okay, every meta is the fun meta. But yeah, if I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna say it, and I think this will be the best way to kind of wrap up the topic and then move on. This actually gives me a bit of cope for PvP. I'm a little bit coped. It's refilling the copium tanks a bit. This is a very thoughtful approach to improving PvP. You know, I think that ArenaNet care about this. They thought about this a lot. I imagine they were looking at player feedback. They've said that they're open to feedback as well. I think with a bit of improvement, some iteration, this can actually be the beginning to, I think, significantly improving PvP, adding some proper systems that will incentivize players to continue playing and give goals, aspirational goals that are realistic and can be grasped at for teams that are looking to get into the competitive side as well, and give players a reason to improve, give players a reason to try and to do their best and to continue investing in the game mode. Yeah. I gotta say, this is actual cope fuel, to be honest, for PvP. Yeah, definitely looking forward to see what they come up with next, because this is certainly not the end for the PvP updates, for sure. We'll see what they've got in store. Can't wait to see the new game mode, how that one's gonna go. And look, it just, oh man, we just keep winning here, guys. We keep winning. Going over now to World versus World. Look, we've got some fancy charts here, but I'll tell you what it means. So, here we go. Victory points. That's based... Let me actually show you. What's the victory point? That... Wait. Yeah, here we go. That's a victory point. It's the thing that says who wins the matchup. Boom. And then war score, that's this number. Who's winning the current skirmish is your war score. Who is winning the matchup are your victory points. There's a terminology, job done. But victory points for winning a skirmish are now going to be weighted based on player population. Okay, and all of these changes, by the way, for World vs. World, they are very much aimed at getting World vs. World into a better state competitively from the systemic standpoint. And in my opinion, they even said this on the stream, actually, they are looking at making competitive infrastructure in World vs. World a thing. They are looking to create proper motivation for winning matchups. You know, like, I don't know what that might look like. It could be leaderboards, it could be rewards, all that kind of stuff. But they have said, confirmed in the live stream where this was all shown off, that is one of the things that they are looking at. And all of this, again, very much smells of preparing World versus World for that transition. We've got World versus World restructuring in play. They've got the matchmaking going. We're going to be seeing them iterate on that over the next couple of months, obviously. But yeah, the big things here, it's all about making the game better from a competitive standpoint here. And essentially, this is a big nerf to night capping, right? They want the skirmishes that matter to winning, to winning the match. It's all during prime. So you can see here that at 8 p.m. European time, the skirmish there is 42 points, whereas the ones at 2 through to 6 a.m. will only give you 6 points. So like a really big disparity there. It's not that you'll have no impact if you're night capping, but it's obviously going to be significantly less. And this certainly was an issue that was, I think it's kind of plagued World vs. World since forever, really. Like, you know, if there's nobody around, if nobody's awake, then, I mean, you just auto-win, right? But now, the very highly contested skirmishes are very much going to be the ones that are the most valuable. And you can see they even did it based on each server, right? So you can see that NA is a bit more spread out, right? Like, you know, there aren't like giga dead matchups, like kind of in this time period. It's like a little bit, you know, it's still pretty inactive, right? But not quite as such. But you can see that the points are more spread out on the NA region there as well. I think what's exciting about this is that I think they could probably even do this dynamically, right? They have all this data about player patterns and player behavior. They could maybe even do this dynamically based on what guilds and, you know, what guilds get matched up with each other in the World Restructuring system as well. Pretty interesting. But yeah, good change, obviously, for kind of having that competitive integrity. Again, they need to go the next step. They need to make sure that there is a reason to care about this stuff. But again, I think that is very much where we're going to be going over the next couple of, you know, kind of like next year or so with World versus World updates. And kind of on that as well, scoring has been adjusted on capturing objectives. So now if you capture a very high tier objective, you're going to get loads more points. Yeah, good. Yeah, that's really, really cool stuff. You love to see that. You absolutely do. I'd love to see it be made more rewarding as well. So getting for each individual players, right? If an individual player captures a really high tier objective, then you also get like significantly more rewards. That would be really good as well, if that was going to be the case. And that kind of ties into like motivating players to attack these objectives, motivating players into actually engaging with World versus World as it is, and not just kind of playing their own little mini game off to the side there as well, which again, like, they've talked about player patterns and player behavior a lot when it comes to World vs. World, and it is something that they are aware of and they're looking to address here too. And you even get more points for killing people to kind of balance this out. I feel like you get 3 score instead of 2 from each kill as well, to kind of make sure that points per kill and points per tick and points per cap kind of stays in check there as well. So yeah, I would say a pretty damn solid change overall in that regard. Contesting has been changed too as well. This is actually a big one because this is one of those Dawn of Time systems in Guild Wars 2 that's now actually been changed significantly. So basically, I'm going to explain what tagging is real quick. So when an objective is contested, you get these little swords you can see on this image here, and you can't use the waypoint, right? You can see the waypoint's contested, so you can't do that. Now, right now, when any guard with a structure gets in combat, or when a gate or wall is damaged in any way, it immediately contests. Right? And that's very scuffed because you can just run up to a guard, tag it, and then run away, come back, tag it, and basically deny people that forward position, that forward waypoint very, very easily. Right? Bit scuffed, to be honest, and doesn't really require a lot of commitment from the attacker or from the staller from doing this. Now, you can't do that anymore. So if the Lord's in combat, it will contest, or if a gate or a wall is damaged at all, basically, so below 95%. So now you're going to have to actually invest. You've got to get to the Lord, so maybe you've got a portal, you can get to the Lord to contest it, or you actually have to start sieging, you have to start breaking the wall. Honestly, a much better change from a balance and design perspective, in my opinion. That just makes a lot more sense to me with how that system actually operates. And another thing too, this one's going to be funny. Emergency waypoint. You get 3 emergency waypoints for the duration of the tactic as opposed to only 1. And you can see there'll be in little custom positions about the place that you'll be able to warp into. Why do they do this? Well, very simple. Because everyone knows where the emergency waypoint is, what you can do as an attacker is just wait for them to pop it, and as they teleport in, you farm them, right? You just, like, blast them as they're warping in, and, like, they'll basically be dead during their loading screen. Now, to be fair, you can then use it again, and you have the invulnerability, right, to kind of disengage at that point. But obviously, that's a bit wonky, because you're, of course, feeding your opponent's points and loot by doing that, which... bit weird that that's how it works, whereas now you are actually going to be able to pick any of these and kind of go for the safe location. They have said that right now they're all called just emergency waypoint, right? They haven't got a special name, but they are actually looking to make them like, I don't know, emergency waypoint 1, emergency waypoint 2, emergency waypoint 3, right? So you'll actually have an indicator of which one you're warping into there as well. So again, I think a good change, just removing that kind of wonky interaction with how the emergency waypoint system actually operates there as well. You won't be able to do like the crazy ganking stuff that's going on there as well. And some other stuff here too, siege updates. So alacrity can no longer be applied to players on siege. Boons other than swiftness can no longer be applied to siege golems, and flame ram health has been lowered by 50%. Operated flame rams will have iron hide applied to them. So let's go through the changes. These 2 changes here are essentially to not have to balance world versus world around boons. They don't want to have to be balancing attacking and defending around having alacrity up. You know, it's funny because this is kind of trying to avoid what happens in PvE. Because, of course, in PvE, ArenaNet is forced to balance around players having every single boon in the game constantly. And this leads to some kind of problematic situations when it comes to balance. It's very difficult to design the game around that, I think, and it's something they've been struggling with for years, of course. And they're trying to avoid that happening in World versus World, which I think is exactly what this will achieve. You're not going to be able to like get more DPS by applying alacrity. You're not going to be able to get more DPS on your golems by using quickness. They just are what they are. It simply makes it easier to balance. Of course, it is a slight nerf to attacking. Of course, but again, like this is something that they are looking at, right? There have been some pretty heavy nerfs to defending recently, especially the change where walls don't respawn until they get healed above 50%. That's like a pretty big, significant change. So it's kind of like a little bit of give and take, and they're looking at the balance between attacking and defending, I think, quite a lot. And there's a couple more changes here with the siege cost here that also kind of reflect they're looking at making players have to commit a bit more there as well. The flame hammer health one, this one might seem pretty interesting, and this was explained on the stream, and it makes a lot of sense. Flame ram health is essentially going to be the same when you're actually using it, right? It's basically, they want to make it easier to clean up, like, unattended siege, basically. They want it to be a little bit easier to defeat attackers and then get rid of all their siege pretty quickly afterwards. So this is functionally the same, right? Like, it's the same HP, or effective HP, rather, while you're using it, just less when you're not using it. So just easier to clean up that siege, like, after you've managed to repel invaders. I'm not gonna lie, I felt like it was pretty easy to kill rams. Like, they have a decent amount of health, but, you know, you just, like, they die pretty quick. But there you go, you know, that's the change that is being made there as well. And yeah, the golem one, again, is, like, about the quickness, right? Like, no quickness on your siege golems for breaking that stuff down a little bit quicker. You can still make them go faster, and you are still able to use super speed on these and stealth as well. This is boons, specifically, right? So you can still do all the sneaky stuff and fun stuff with your super speed as well, in that regard. So, and also the final thing kind of on some of the world versus world style balancing stuff are some changes to supply costs. So guild siege golem goes up from 50 to 75, arrow cart from 40 to 25, superior from 50 to 35 on arrow cart, trebuchet slashed down by 50%. From 120 to 60 on superior and 100 to 50 on regular. So, and there's a couple of noticeable ones here. Their goals with a lot of these are making defending a little bit easier or kind of less expensive supply-wise. So in other words, making it easier to rebuild your defensive siege after you've been attacked, right? So you can rebuild your fortifications so you don't like... Because I think what they're worried about, or the problem they're tackling here, is that once you hit them once, right? And you clear off all their siege, it's very difficult for defenders to essentially get all of that back. They have to control the supply lines for a long time. They're trying to alleviate that so you can actually kind of make that happen and, you know, kind of get your defenses replenished up a little bit quicker. Guild siege golems, these are actually very interesting. This is, so... Guild Siege is usually like a juiced up version of the Superior, right? Guild Siege Golems are actually very interesting here, actually. They're very interesting because they are actually not Omega Siege Golems. They are Alpha Siege Golems. They're the same as like the punchy ones. And this is very interesting because it means they have a very low supply cost. They're incredibly supply efficient, actually, compared to basically any other offensive siege. You can get like a massive Zerg of these things going very cheaply, very efficiently, and rush down objectives hard. Like, this is your Golem Rush, right? They have very high DPS with their melee attack. They're obviously very tanky because they're siege golems, and they can move, right? You don't have to reset them up with every gate. You can just go through and then reuse them. Very, very powerful. I think very much a deserved nerf. This is still going to be a very powerful offensive tool when it comes to taking stuff down. It's just going to be more of a commitment. You're going to need more supply, and you have to drain more of your supply to actually get like a really big army of things going there as well. I actually think that the trebuchet changes will actually make some attacking be easier as well. I think ArenaNet do look at this as a primarily defensive tool, so you can use this to destroy siege, to drain supply, all that kind of stuff. But I think trebuchets being more expensive to kind of break fortifications from a very long range, making that cheaper, making that more accessible is also very relevant as well, for sure, for being able to actually remove enemy fortifications using trebuchets, and also to ultimately break through walls and force your opponents to push, right? Because the trebuchet, of course, you can use this, you can say set up a trebuchet in a tower that you've captured and use it to siege an enemy keep, right? And force your opponents to actually come and pressure you, right? I think that is where some of the World vs. World siege gameplay gets really exciting, actually, when you're kind of, you have to, your opponent kind of has to respond to what you're doing. And again, this is what I meant, right? Like, a lot of these changes, they're very much trying to make the game mode more fun and more dynamic with the way it's kind of quote-unquote intended to be played. We've seen a lot of changes like this over the past couple of months to World vs. World, with the reward changes and so on, and of course these systemic changes too. So yeah, I really want to see them go all the way there and now add some competition to World vs. World. Let's get some titles and let's get some gold, right? Like, let's get some epic skins, right? Some prestige for winning, just like the old season days with the golden Dolyak finisher. Come on, let's go. I think it's time for it. But overall, I think very positive changes actually to all of this. Very, very good changes. You know, it's really cool. I think that a lot of these changes are designed to actually be addressing player concerns. And when I was listening to this, you know, I'm a Roy sim. I'm going to admit it, guys. I simp Roy, my king. But it was honestly really cool to listen to him speak about this because it was so obvious that he talked to players about this. He plays the game mode himself as well a lot, and he really understands like how World vs. World is and like how people actually play with it. So that was really cool to actually listen to. I'd highly recommend everyone listen to the stream on this. On the Guild Wars 2 Twitch channel, because it was cool to listen to. Like, the devs were very, very passionate about the game, and the way they were talking about it, they really cared about PvP and World vs. World, which was really cool to hear, actually. It really was. Again, it was an absolute cope fuel stream, it really was, but some great changes. And, just for fun, another weapon set as well. Here we go. Kind of based off the Mist Hero weapons, as you can see, but this time it's got eyeballs on it. It's corrupted. Got some purple colors here. It's slightly low-res image here, but you know what? You get the idea. They're purple, they've got mist on them, and they've got eyes. And the way you can do those is by, well, playing World vs. World. They're in the mist-hardened lock boxes, so we'll see if the prices on those go up a little. But those are kind of like the daily system that kind of got added to the game recently, with the keys and the chests and stuff like that. And you can also get these things from the weapon reward track. You can, of course, then forge into the Ascended one. You get the exotic from the lockboxes, then you get the Ascended by throwing this stuff into the Mystic Forge with some of the World vs. World stuff to get the epic Ascended gear that you know and love from World vs. World. But yeah, super cool stuff. And like I said, I will actually go ahead and say this, guys. They very specifically said they are looking at making World vs. World matter. They are looking at making winning an important part of, you know, what players are going to want to go for. And that, to me, is the real big key here. Like, this stuff, this is nice. This is a little bit of window dressing, a little bit of icing on the cake. We definitely still need to see the actual cake, though. Especially seeing as they have got something to prove with World Restructuring. Like, World Restructuring, it's a little bit of a bumpy start, I think. So they've got to make sure they actually nail this for this cornerstone game mode. But that's going to be about it, actually, for this kind of overview of all the changes. Just like Ruby says here, you should check out the VOD here. You should do it. It will be linked, of course, down below in addition to this forum post. So you can peruse it to your heart's content in your own time there as well. But yeah, that's going to do it. Let me know. What do you guys think about this over there on YouTube? Am I coped out of my mind? Am I unhinged? But yeah, I'm going to be getting back into PvP, I think. I was planning on doing it anyway, but this is definitely going to be an extra little motivator, a little bit extra fun reason to do that over the next couple of weeks and months. But anyway, I think these changes are incredibly exciting, but I want to know what you think about it. Leave a comment down below. Tell me about what's going on. And of course, thanks for watching, gamers. I was trying to speed run my sellout moment there, but we've got to relax, guys. Okay, we got to relax. You've got to follow the stream. You've got to subscribe on YouTube. You've got to subscribe on Twitch. You've got to follow all my social media. You've got to buy the game using my referral link. You've got to leave comments. You've got to feed the algorithm. Make 10 alt accounts. Leave more comments. Do it. Go comment on every single video. Do it. Watch all of my videos. Watch every stream. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, that's going to about do it for this one. Stay tuned for more Guild Wars 2 news. Going to be covering everything, obviously, coming up to Jan Wilds and beyond. So stay tuned for that, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. We're out of here, YouTube.